5
SDA
patches.
patch. Get the word right into you quick.
Yeah.
But you can cut them to any size you want, and but you're probably going to need them at least the size. These are the small ones, I think. There's also different sizes. I think there's medium, large. You can get large patches. But I think this is the kind you're going to need for a first aid kit or something. You know, you don't have to.
Good idea.
I've used just a tablet in an emergency. You can also get, although I haven't seen it very often, but a solution of charcoal already mixed in a little jar, and it's usually cherry flavored or something, like for poisoning or something like that. But you can just make it.
I just carry powdered stuff. I just
Yeah.
put it like in my glove box or whatever.
You can use that for anything.
Yeah.
Do you know
But
a
the others
good
are good too.
source for?
What?
Do you know a good source for bulk powder? Because it can get pricey.
Yeah, I sell it in most of the ones are 10 ounce, but you can get them in, you mean like huge amounts?
Well, that size.
This size, yeah.
Yeah, bulk size.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is the usual size, unless you're really going to be using a lot.
Mhm.
But we have it, and I think the store over here has it too.
Big one,
Yeah.
bigger than that.
Yeah. But you can get it, I think, in about most health food stores. You know, if they're,
Probably expensive.
Well, you're not gonna get that size. Not a-
You can.
well,
Is that-
Adventist health food stores you might,
Well, maybe.
but maybe not a regular one, I don't
Definitely.
know. But you can usually get it, maybe not that size though, that's true.
I used to mail order it somewhere. I can't remember that.
Yes, you can get it mail order, there are several places.
My pastor at my old church, he was the charcoal man, that's what his name was.
Eh,
And he used to always sell it at church.
what was his name?
Pastor Kopko, Tom Kopko. He died recently.
Oh.
Didn't take enough charcoal?
Oh, he was super healthy. He was died from
Charcoal's
heart
good, but
attack.
it doesn't make you last
Oh,
forever. Okay,
Forever.
there is, you can use actually just plain charcoal.
This would be right there.
With no special preparation. In fact, I had a friend that swallowed paint thinner. He was painting and he thought he picked up his water bottle
Oh, my goodness.
blood,
Oh.
and he remembered that someone had been burning something out in the backyard. He was doing a remodel house. So he went out, sat down, and just chopped away on some of the wood,
Serious?
and never had, he had a little bit of queasiness that night. That was it.
Oh, that's amazing.
But you have to obviously have more if it's not activated. You know, if you're just gonna use a stick, you're gonna need more of it, because it's not as effective.
I drank some gas one time. I ate a bunch of charcoal, same thing happened. I'm sure it's none of those things. So I was trying to siphon gas.
Man.
I drink, it was good, it's gold.
Oh,
Good big swallow.
man.
That's
It's
happening.
hard on your liver, huh?
Yeah, I drink
Okay.
charcoal.
Activated charcoal, it's control burned where it's under high pressure or steam, and it increases the surface area drastically. And that's the power of charcoal, is the huge surface area, because you're absorbing things to that. Okay, we're going to talk about that
Good coconut shampoo.
in just a little bit. Absorb versus adsorb. This is absorb. If you have some water spilled on the table, and then you take a sponge and you wipe it up, that goes into the sponge, it absorbs. If you have breadcrumbs on the table and you use a sponge, they don't go into it, but they'll stick on the outside surface, and the more surface area you have, the more you can pick up. So that's what's happening with charcoal, it's the adsorb. During the burning process, there's an electrostatic property that develops, and so it attracts poisons, gases, bacteria. Anything that does not belong in the body is very attracted to it. God made us so that there are electrostatic charges in our body and everywhere. And this will attract anything that's not supposed to be in the body. So it's very poor at attracting things like iron, because iron belongs in our body. If they take an overdose of iron, it's very poor to absorb that. Or anything that's supposed to be in the body. So it's very poor. It will absorb a small amount of your nutrients, but a very small amount. Okay. How much surface area can 1 cubic centimeter of activated charcoal cover if we spread it out all the surface? What do you think? 10 square meters, 100 square meters, or 1,000 square
1,000.
meters?
1,000. 10. No,
1,000 square meters.
really?
Isn't that amazing?
That's really
Wow.
Okay. Inside
1 cubic centimeter. How much?
the body,
1,000 times its own size.
you can use it for digestive problems such as gas or nausea or anything like that, any digestive upset. It's very good and it starts working immediately, especially if you take the charcoal powder. Poisoning cases, even the poison control will tell you to take charcoal because it's very effective. Obviously, if it's been long enough time and it's gotten into the system, it's not going to go into the system and get it out. But if it's not been a long time, it will absorb the poison. In fact, there was a gentleman who was trying to prove to people that this was very effective, and he took a lethal dose of strychnine and before the Academy of Sciences, and then he took charcoal and had no ill effects.
The wrong answer.
Right?
She thought she died. I mean, he died.
A lethal dose.
Well,
It
charcoal.
depends on how fast you take it though.
Right. You
He
can't.
had to like time it perfectly.
Took it right
He
away.
was lucky, honestly.
Well, but it's going to stay in your system.
Takes a little while.
I mean, you
to
can
burn
take
your blood.
some, yeah, it's going to be in your system for a few minutes.
A few minutes, so.
Well,
that's
you have
like
to
a
just
stick
very
that right
small
there.
window.
Yeah, stick right in charcoal and go.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Right.
You know,
He's not gonna dilly-dally.
diarrhea.
Yeah, go play some
Yeah.
golf or something.
All I'm saying is he took a risk and he knew his
He did, but he was a savage.
Diarrhea. The one thing that can be a side effect of charcoal is if you have a tendency to constipation, it can be constipating. You need to drink lots of water every time you take it internally, because it can, if it stops diarrhea, it can also stop you up if you don't have diarrhea. taken from it.
Have they ever used it for diarrhea as more of an enema kind of
A what?
an enema procedure?
No,
No.
it's totally different. I mean, it absorbs and stops the cause of the diarrhea.
You don't want to ever do
was-
an enema when you have diarrhea.
It will explode.
What if it was for a situation of a C. difficile toxicity?
Common sense stuff.
Yeah, but they wouldn't give an enema for something like that.
I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, it would, I mean, I would take it if I had that, but you know,
Just take
the
it.
thing is with charcoal, if you don't have some slowing down at least pretty soon, you may have to take it 2 or 3 times, but you take it every time you have diarrhea, then you need to go to something more aggressive, medication or something. And it may need, you know, may be further progressed along. Sore throat, some people suck on a charcoal tablet and that just kind of goes down the back of their throat. Bad breath can be helpful, although most
Are you
bad
nervous?
breath actually comes from what's going on in
Yeah.
your
You gotta go to
stomach.
the dentist.
Yeah, I mean, it can be your
Teeth
teeth,
thing.
it can be your digestive problems.
Stomach, yeah.
It may help temporarily, but, well, it may help
Mask
if
it.
it may, well, it may take care of the problem if it's indigestion, but usually it's, bad breath is from poor digestion. Or my husband and I can always notice if we have bad breath when we're under stress. So we can tell when each other's under stress if we have bad breath.
Wow, isn't that amazing?
That was kind of a unusual discovery. Insect bites, bee stings, it's very effective. Even if you're allergic to bee stings. I had a lady that said she was allergic to bee stings, but she lived way up in the mountains, 45 minutes from the nearest hospital, and she was very poor. Actually, I was taking care of her in her jail. And her neighbors happened to be Adventists, and they had told her about charcoal, and she had been stung twice and had used the charcoal and had not had to go to the hospital. Of course, she needed to get it on there immediately. But insect bites, bee stings, anything like that. Scorpion, it's very effective. In fact, as soon as you put it on, usually the pain stops immediately.
No snakes?
Um,
Probably.
Infected wounds, this is what we usually think of, extremely effective for infected wounds.
Okay,
It draws out, remember, anything that doesn't belong in the body.
there you go. There's your answer. We were talking about rattlesnake bites.
That would be in the
Yeah.
blood.
Very
Would
effective.
draw it out.
If you put it on.
It's just,
Now-
that's like within seconds, so it's in your
Now,
system,
When you're doing something acute that could be
No,
pretty
take the
serious,
charcoal and put it in your vein.
you need
Check
to, you don't put charcoal on the vein.
Okay.
What you need to do when you're doing something, if I have something very acute, I just take some dry powder, I put it in a paper towel, put it under the water, and slap it on the situation, whatever the problem is. Because, and then you need to change that every 10 minutes for a while. And then every half hour, and then every couple hours. And you just need to keep it on there for a while, for something really cute like that. Because you want to get as much as possible out of there quick. Inflammation, pain. It's amazing. Pain chemicals are not natural in our body, and so it draws out the pain chemicals. And it's very effective. We don't have this on here, but I've used it quite a bit, quite effectively for cancer. I had this one lady that was going through a lifestyle program, and we were putting, she had had mastectomy, but she still had tumors on her chest wall. So we were doing charcoal poultices. We didn't even know if it would work or anything, but you know, it doesn't hurt. So we were putting it on there twice a day for 45 minutes. And after I'd been doing this on her for like 2 weeks, she told me one day, she says, it burns like fire when you put this on. I thought, I can't even believe that. I'd never heard of that. And she says, I can hardly wait for you to take it off. So she says, but you know what? My tumors are smaller. So she had had me feel her tumors to begin with, so I had felt them. And I thought, oh, she's just imagining it, wanting it to be better. And so she had me feel it again. And sure enough, they were definitely smaller. And she says her oncologist had them all measured and named and all that. So she says he'll be able to tell. And I've you know, it's amazing.
The charcoal burned when you put it
Yes.
on your skin?
I've had one other occasion where someone told me it was painful. And it was a person who had an infected, it had pus on it, wound on the ankle. It was a long-term ulcer. And she wasn't really convinced that she wanted to do things natural anyway.
I
But,
think it was more the moisture that was causing.
well, it took me, I said, she came back and she says, you know, that was so painful. And I says, oh no, it wasn't that charcoal. Charcoal wasn't hurt. She goes, well, she says, it got so bad. I went to the store after I was here and I had to go outside, stop shopping and go outside and take it off. I kept telling her, oh no, it wasn't the charcoal. And she says, well, it stopped as soon as I took the charcoal off. But the only thing I could really think of was that it was, because it was really infected, it was such an intense drawing that the pain, it was painful. But she didn't want natural remedies anyway, so.
She found a way to.
She found a way, but I believe her that it did hurt, but, you know. Anyway, the thing is, I could tell you other stories too, that if you have any question, put a charcoal poultice on, it's not gonna hurt. This is what happens with charcoal poultice. It does not go out into the system. You know, if you take it in your intestines, it doesn't go into the blood, it doesn't go into, it stays right in the intestines. But this is what happens. There are blood vessels right by your intestines, and that's how they draw out the nourishment. Here is the inside of the intestine, okay? My husband does all this fancy stuff. He usually gives this lecture. Here comes the problem, the pathogen, and then here comes the charcoal. Whoops, did I push it too soon?
We saw something go on.
Okay, let me see if I can figure this out. Here comes the.
Oh.
That was a flock of birds.
There's the problem in the blood.
There in
Okay,
the blood,
we saw
and then
red
the
dots.
charcoal comes in the intestines and it draws through the wall of the
Pulls it
vessel
out.
and the intestines, into the intestines, and then it takes it
That's
out.
cool, isn't it?
Okay? Okay,
Okay.
should we use charcoal briquettes?
No, I don't think so.
It's got chemicals and gases and all kinds of things, and you never use that. Burned or charred food,
No, that's worse.
No.
you do not use burned or charred food. Charcoal should be taken between meals if possible. The effectiveness is decreased by about 50% when taken with meals. It's just diluted, it's not as effective there.
I understood that you could do it similar to how you drink water about an hour before and an hour after.
Yeah. Usually we say 2 hours, but yeah. If you're taking medications, you need to take it 2 hours either side of ingesting your medication, because it will make the medication less effective. Okay. Any questions? Do you all know how to do a poultice? Should I demonstrate one?
Sure.
Please do.
You want me to?
Yes.
Okay, I am prepared.
Do you use charcoal on fungal infection?
If you use it on a fungal infection, I would be very careful, because keeping it moist is going to keep the fungal infection alive.